Welcome to Art with Oz, your front row seat to the stories behind the Indian art world and the trailblazers who define it. One conversation at a time. Today, I had the privilege of interviewing Krishen Khanna, whose works have been not only a mirror reflection of social change for the last few decades, but also one of his personal growth, with themes like music, partition, and so much more. Without further ado, I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. So, I wanted to ask you about how you went from being a banker at Greenlays to being an artist. There's a huge difference between the two.
Everybody says, but I tell you what, you see, I had a very good job in the bank.
Yeah.
And I was also very popular as a person amongst all those people. Even after I left the bank, I was, staying with them in Norfolk, on Elsplay, wherever I went. Then I was always very welcome, my family too. And so it was a very hard task. And I had a very good job. And when I put in my resignation, my friend who was the chief at that time, Scott, he said, "You don't be a damn fool. I'm giving you one branch where only deposits are taken, so there's no work." So when I went to the chief manager, he said, he told me this. He said, "You're going to get a pension after 1 year if you stay in the bank."
What made you take that leap of faith?
Well, listen, I said, this is not a cheap decision.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this because the bank has been on to me or bad and they paid me less. They did extremely well. I mean, they paid for Karan. Karan was having important. With the greatest, the biggest ophthalmologist who had actually invented that particular. And he went with his mother, little child, and stayed in one place. And he operated. All expenses were borne by the bank. And they stayed, they traveled there, everything. And some stayed. So I think they're a great people. They're a great lot of people. They also understood what I stood for. And when you stand for that, and there's no other support, there's no support, then it's just you and you that have to fight the world. And it was a fight. I was then given, I did that. And I did reasonably well. I had a show of mine immediately after that. And I think I sold 2 paintings. That's it.
You've been painting for so long, more than 6 decades. What has been your favorite painting that you've painted in all this time? Is there anything you've held close to your heart?
Well, every painting that I paint has to be close to my heart. Every painting. And otherwise, there's no point. I'm not painting to fill a shop or anything like that, or for any other reason other than that I'm fascinated by certain things about the painting. Yeah.
So, I wanted to ask you, when you see a blank canvas, what's your process like? How do you envision?
Well, you got one right here. Next to it is a canvas which I started yesterday. And then I saw it today and I rubbed it off. I mean, I started with the charcoal. And you see, it's a great idea, let me tell you. We are in the season of the most dangerous things happening. The Hindus, they have this kind of way, there's a little chant about it as well, and they say, the atmosphere is such, the rain is such, that it's very, very, very obtuse. So I thought that you should have something which is relating to the times and to us. Nobody's thought about this thing. And then, you see, with this is related the full moon. Because the full moon is dominant on the fate of these guys. Okay. The saving grace is the sun, the rays of the sun, which melt all this thing down. This is enough stuff to paint. The way I put it, the way it will work. I mean, it won't be 1, 2, 3, but it will be a very kind of way. And just as this painting, which could be passed off as a musical recital just finished, but actually it's far more than that. There's people under a cloak, and the cloak is disappearing. Yeah. See, the man playing the tablas, just look at him. Doesn't he give up? Several people who run our lives for us. And then his arms are breaking up. The instruments themselves are disintegrating. And you don't realize at first, but then it does. It actually disintegrates.
When did you make this?
Hang on, only very recently. And then there is a girl dancing on the right, which is nice and red. She's a mountaineer. She's from the mountains. So the mountain is a part of the picture. But it'd be stupid to put the whole mountain there. She's coming out of it also in a state of dire. She's very this thing, one bit of cloth. And she's not the glamorous kind of girl that you would imagine that was happy. Or she's lost in
It's natural.
And the other place too, the instruments are all haywire. Nobody's done a picture of haywire, music. So that is the state of affairs, as I put it. And and it is not as if it wasn't read. It was read by a year, very, very closely. And she said it's a miracle that is happening these days.
Yeah.
And it stands out something leading away to another kind of painting.
So, you mentioned Raza earlier. After you left Grinlays, he threw a party for you in Paris.
In Venice. Yes.
How was that?
Well, he was just being very generous. They're celebrating the fact that they all came to the, Raza was in Paris at that time. And the day I finished, they gave me the clerks gave me a party, a tea party, and so there was Bal Chabra, Akwapadam C, Bal Chabra, and one or two others. They were there. And they were sitting on the outside, saying, "Nickel away," and making these sounds. I said, "Let me finish this bun." And after I went, Bal Chabra takes my tie off. He says, "You won't need this anymore." So there was a human energy amongst unspoken of.
You worked closely with the Progressive Arts group.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Do you have any memories of them that you hold close to you that you'd like to share?
It was not a club.
Okay.
So there was no gathering of the clan as it was. There were 5 or 6 of them.
How did it operate?
And sometime a fellow would join if he's exhibiting elsewhere. So he would be keen to show his work to us to say that it was good enough for that and all. So people forgot. They want judgment. They want honest, true judgment as to what is what. And they were prepared to listen. And you gave it to them, but in a kind of you're not killing the guy through it. You don't not telling him to say, well, you better leave painting, you're no good. And painting, which people think is a very simple or very pleasurable activity.
It's not.
It is a very hard travail. That's what it is. It's very hard. And you don't forget it.
Did the progressive arts have exhibitions of the progressive arts? Did they do group exhibitions together with each other?
Yes, we did. Yes,
How were they?
very, very wonderful. We used to have dinners together every year. Get together. It's the greatest of friends. I say that this is, or each one of them, they've all gone finito and left me behind. But they were all each one was a gem.
In Japan, you also had your Rockefeller Fellowship, right?
Well,
Where you
the Rockefeller Fellowship started in India. It started in India, and the correspondence was with Rockefeller. And when they gave me the thing, I said, I just want to know one answer. What is it that you expect from me? And they said, nothing. You do what you like. See, when you trust a person, you have to trust a person to get the best out of it. You can't say, shade this and shade that. He understand. So there is this. It was implicit. I made friends there, and then I also was helping them with their future. There's no point having an important thing like this without thinking about the future. So we would sit down and talk about painters in India.
Really?
Yes, each one of them.
Who was bigger than
I tell you, Akbar Padam Singh, who was in Paris at that time, and Gaitam Dey. They asked me, we went off on a weekend, and we talked about these chaps. And then Gaitam Dey comes, he's given the same thing as everything. Porter McRae, who was managing the thing then, he says, Krishen, I said, yes, Porter, you thought very highly of Gaitam Dey. I said, yes. So I'd imagine that he'd do a lot of work. I said, yes, he doesn't run for it. But he's in the cinema the whole time. So I said, forget it. He does the cinema. He sees that. It's entered his blood and everything. He's a damn fine painter. He's amongst the best. And he was proved. So, I mean, my and I wasn't paying for my, they're not paying me for my advice or thing. I was a part of a lawsuit. So you got to be that good. You got to be you got to have this. Absolutely right.
You were talking about Gaitonde. In New York, you introduced Gaitonde to another very popular artist, Mark Rothko.
Mark Rothko is a wonderful artist. I'll tell you a story.
Could you share any stories that you have with him?
Yes, I met him actually. It was very funny, who was it? I think Akbar. Akbar and I we told that we can go and see him and so on. So we met. He was being actually talking to another painter, an English painter at this. So we waited outside. And then when the guy left, Then he went in to talk to him. And he was very chatty, very friendly, very outlandish. I mean, what we read about the Americans is not entirely true. They're like us. जो काम करता है ना उसको पता होता है काम क्या है ना. So they met him. Then I came home and I went back for my own exhibition, not this time with them. I was having a one-man show, which went like a, I mean, one-man shows don't last that long, nor do they get. So, I mean, it was incredible.
I wanted to ask you a little more about your time with Rothko.
It was it was like us when we are now free from the British. But there are scrapings from this and scrapings from that and scrapings from this, and you see what's happening. And he did the same possible thing with color. With color which was being used by various artists at that time. But he said, but what they had to say, their subject matter was pretty prime. It didn't matter, the color mattered. See, this is the anomaly in painting, that you throw the subject matter is not very valuable. You're going to make painting. How can you throw the subject matter away like that? Why did you choose it in the first place? And he was the first to get away from that, and he only used color. Beautifully.
Yeah.
Beautifully. You don't ask for any, you say, what are you doing? You color. See this work.
Did that influence your...
And I met him a number of times there. Paris.
Did he...
New York. Yeah.
Did he influence your abstract?
He came to my exhibition.
When?
Yes, my exhibition in New York.
Lovely.
So
That's why
I had a very, very good show in New York. Extremely well received, and the people were just full of it. Yeah.
Let's talk about your monumental mural, the Great Procession at the ITC Moria. You created it in the 1980s, and it took you about 4 years to make.
Yeah.
And it spans such a wide area. What was the process like of creating it? It was about 3,000 square feet.
The Moria was a hell of a joke actually started off that way.
Really?
Yeah, because it's a myth. I didn't go to get it and so on. And then they were going to come up. He said, the chairman wants to see you. So he's a friend of mine. I said, sure. He said, come and meet. We'll have a drink at the bar or so on. So I went there. So he says, we're on the brink of a huge job here. I said, oh, and what's that? He said, immediately, we are doing the whole dome. And then after that, when the dome comes down and so on the sides will be done, will be away. And you are the boss. You do it.
You're given the job of painting the...
You, of course, I have to choose people to do it. Hussein was very angry, and I asked him, in fact, it was a funny story. But I'll tell you, he was a great buddy of mine, by the way. But I took it on. And when you take it on, you're very serious about it. And I did drawings on the wall, for paintings. I enjoy, and got painters to do that too. To come and do the painting on the walls itself and so on, or on the oil parts of it. It's a very complicated affair.
Yeah, it took you 4 years.
Yes. Took me 4 years to do.
And how was the process as a whole? Was it Was it
Process was
difficult?
to do it, and I was doing the drawings also and so on. And this went. Then the other thing, of course, which was there now, I mean, is I did it, is one of the longest drawings. It's 125 feet or something like that, in that drawing. The South Sea, they're going into the further down into the sea, you know, what's it? Oh, I've got it here too. And then it was a drawing.
Was it Moses?
Huh?
Was it Moses? Was it Moses painting a Moses?
No, it was that was separate to the painting. The paintings were on the globe and on the walls which lead to the globes. See, the walls are like that, and then on top of these are the globes. You understand?
Yeah.
So you have to combine the two. You can't make one set there and one set here and there. It works together. And it does work absolutely marvelous. I tell you a story about that. One Sunday or Saturday or something, I went there, huge crowd, you know, of foreigners, and a person, also a foreigner, leading them, talking about this thing and that thing. And she was explaining the whole thing. So I, standing a bit away from it all, and Hussein was there as well. And Hussein was with us. And she said, she saw me. She said, look, what do I need to preach you for? And the guy who made it is here. Now, Hussein thought it was him.
Oh, God.
And when they came and took me, he disappeared.
So, I wanted to ask you more about the Bandwala series.
Oh, yeah.
They're synonymous with you. It's iconic to Krishen Khanna.
Right.
It reflects the marginalization of the Bandwalas post the Indian partition. Could you tell me a little more about the series? How did you know that you wanted to make Bandwalas? Where did they come from? I'm aware that
I was in school. I was in the band myself. Yeah. I did the flute. And so that was it. And it's still like there somewhere. It's not. But I mean, I had a relationship with the band, and I know what the band is and how they play and whatever. So, march past and so on, the king, you know, salute, food, everything. When anybody, any Hindu marriage or even Muslim marriages, when they're getting married, they want to enjoy themselves anyway. They on the horse and the steed and so on. You have a band going with it. It's nice to hear the band, and the band has always been associated with this happiness.
happiness. But then why in your paintings are the faces more neutral?
No, but just listen.
Yeah.
See, when the break up in this economic and everything local, and the Bandwalas also had to work without any money. Nobody was, and very few people did, and so on. So I saw these chaps hoping that somebody would. They put on their rags and play outside the fort. On तबले का ये ना तबला तो है नहीं, लेकिन वो बैंड का the tunes that they have their boyfriend. There's something very pathetic about this thing, you know, very sad. And there they were marching up, lifting up, you know, all the great marching tunes and so on. And
Do you remember any of these specific?
of course, I knew the marching tunes also,
Yes,
having played them myself. But seeing them, what struck me most was that with a calamity the size of that particular occurrence, nobody was considering a thing about these poor Bandwalas. And I imagine other things as well. People were just wanting to keep their own things preserved to themselves and their guys and to live as long as they can with whatever they have. And this was pound off to the Bandwalas also. And one day at the Gadi Studios, I had a studio there. And as I was coming back in my Smoley car through the gate, huge Muslim gate, coming down, I was stopped. Bandwalas going off like that. And in the sort of garden, not hardly a garden, the people were practicing also. So I said, किसने दावत दी है? सारे हंसन लग पे, क्या साधु, तू तो मजे उड़ाता है अपने ये वो, And I get along with everybody, actually. I don't make any difference.
That's the way to be, yeah.
Well, they are like me. I am like them. I've got to enter their souls to get them on the desk. And I got to know how people feel. I got to know how I feel. So this stuck in my mind that there's this few Bandwalas, there are only 3 or 4 or 5 of them there at the time. And I said, क्या करें? Practice कर रहे हैं जी. Very good. I said, कोई तो अच्छी बात है. आप करवा दीजिए तो बहुत अच्छा. Hymns. I said, हो जाए.
And just like that, history was made.
Well, they had to come to me after that.
Yeah.
And they knew my studio's right there. And I could hardly refuse them. It was not an age of any kind of refusals for anybody. So that's how the Bandwala came. And they came and the fellow couldn't play the flute properly. So I took the flute and I played it for him.
Wow.
बाप भी तो कोमल बाप हमारा बैंड में क्यों नहीं बनते? मैंने कहा इतने पैसे नहीं देते. So I gave the thing back.
So you have so many interesting stories. I could just sit here for days.
Well, that's a very interesting life, I can tell you.
Yeah. Do you have any stories with Sousa that you'd like to share with us?
The best story about Sousa is in London. I was also happened to be in London at that time. And he was moving into another flat on the ground floor. So I went and saw him. He was directing operations and so on. Anyway, we met before, and so after that, we went. He said, "This calls for a drink." I said, "Yes, sir, this is sure." So we went to a local restaurant. He said, "Have you seen this thing which appeared in that paper in Bombay, from Bombay? Long the thing about Sousa." When I said, "Yeah, I saw it." A famous writer on art in Bombay. He said, "He's written this thing." Yes. The initials, same initials that I have, K.K. Krishen. So he said, "This chap's written a very good, he's written some pretty slanderous things as well." I said, "Yeah, they're quite right too, You can't get away with everything like that. You make a statement like this." So he says, "Yeah, but I mean, after all, this is a paper for a long time." And I said, "Who do you think has supported you?" He said, "Oh, look at this paper. It's KK, underneath it." I said, "That's me. Hey, Krishen Khanna, I wrote the article." He said, "You wrote it?" I said, "Look at it." I said, nevertheless, I think you're a very, very fine artist.
So, thank you so much for sharing some of your fondest memories. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here with us.
I hope I haven't misquoted anybody or
Thank you so much for being with us. You've been watching or listening to Art with Oz, and until the next time.